What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Skull Network. Today we're going to be talking about Week 17 of the NFL season. Mainly going to be talking about why there are going to be no primetime games this week, and also I'm going to give you my picks for this week. So as some of you may know, if you take a look at the NFL schedule for this week, there is 0 primetime games. Disregard what's being said in this clip here. I didn't know that there wasn't any Monday or Thursday night games in the last week of the season, which is what I talk about. And this next clip is just me getting into the reasons why there is no primetime. Big one is the fact that obviously it's going to be New Year's Eve, and if they were trying to air a Sunday night game against all the New Year's celebrations that's going to happen, you're not going to get anybody to watch, which is the exact opposite of what the NFL wants. The reason for this lack of primetime football this week is kind of just because of how the slate of games has played out. Usually the last game of the regular season, usually the Sunday night football game, it tends to be between two division rivals that will have big playoff implications, where the winner will get into the playoffs and the loser goes home. And with the game being played this week, there isn't really a game like that. Most of the games, actually all of them, they're all just getting playoff seeding kind of straightened out. So that's kind of another reason that they took that off, just because there's no big games that are really affecting anything major in the playoff scenarios. So if you were confused about that whole situation as to why there was no primetime football, there is your answer. Now I'm going to move on to my picks for this week, and I'm going to try to keep my explanations for my picks relatively short because I don't want to bore you to death. I don't want this to be a 10-15 minute video. Alrighty, we're going to start with Green Bay and Detroit. Looking at this one, I think Detroit is going to win. For one, it is in Detroit. I think the Packers are just kind of trying to get rid of the season and put it behind them. So I had Detroit winning. Jesus. Next game up, we have the Houston Texans and the Indianapolis Colts. I personally think that Houston will probably take this one. This is definitely the toilet bowl of this season. These two teams have really fallen off, and it's not the Texans' fault. Deshaun Watson, what can you do? But I do think that wide receiver play for the Texans has been better considering who they've had at quarterback. So I got Houston. Next up is the New York Jets against the New England Patriots. This one is in Foxborough, so that definitely gives the Patriots an edge. I think they're going to be the winners. As we know, last time these two teams played, there was a bit of controversy with the ending, and the Jets really should have won, but I think that Brady and the Patriots are on a bit of a hot streak right now, and they're just really trying to go out on a high note, getting into the playoffs with most likely the 1 seed. So I have New England taking this one. Up next, we have another toilet bowl, not as bad as the last one, but we have Washington at the New York Giants. Although it is in New York, I think that Washington will probably end up winning. Just like the Packers, I think the Giants are really just trying to get this season behind them. I think Kirk Cousins will go out on a good note, and hopefully he'll get his big contract that he's been waiting for. Who knows? Maybe he'll get a franchise tag. But yeah, I got the Redskins winning. All right, now we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Philadelphia Eagles. Last week, the Eagles played one of the worst-looking games I've seen in a while. And Dallas, what are you doing? Although I don't want the Eagles to win, it doesn't really matter at this point. I do think the Eagles are going to find a way to win, but it's not going to be by much. Next is probably my favorite noon game of the week, and it's not the Vikings game. It's the Steelers versus the Browns. Oh, Cleveland. I'm sorry, but you're going 0-16. I don't need to explain anymore. Steelers win. And of course, for the noon games, I had to leave the Vikings game for last. There shouldn't be any surprise here. I think the Vikings are going to win. It's at US Bank Stadium. It's going to be absolutely bonkers in there. We're gonna lock up the 2 seed this week, and it's going to be great. Vikings win. I can't hit the button. No! All right, moving over to the 3 o'clock or 3:25 games, whatever you want to call them. We're going to start with probably the biggest one, which is Atlanta versus Carolina. That was a weird way to say versus, but nonetheless, I think that Atlanta is going to win this game. I know that's a surprise to some people, but Carolina didn't look very good last week against Tampa Bay. If that happens again, then I think Atlanta should have no problem running all over them. Next up, we got the Bengals and the Ravens. I don't know how the Bengals found a way to beat the Lions last week, but, thank you for doing so. Even though that was the case, is the case, I think that the Ravens are going to take this win. They're fighting hard for a playoff spot, and I think they will clinch that this week. The Bills and the Dolphins are on the slate now, and I'm going to throw a curveball and say that Jay Cutler will light up the Bills, and the Dolphins are going to take a win, thereby knocking the Bills out of the playoff race. Now we have an NFC South matchup against the Saints and the Bucks, and the Bucks stayed with the Panthers for quite a bit of the time last week. I don't think they're going to be able to do that with how high-powered the Saints offense is. I have the Saints taking the win. With Jacksonville and Tennessee, I know the Jaguars got absolutely destroyed by Jimmy Garoppolo last week. I think they're going to turn it around. Their defense is going to get back to their old selves, and I think that Tennessee is officially going to be knocked out of the playoff race, and the Jaguars will win. With Kansas City and Denver, it was going to be a pretty easy pick for me because Denver has just been looking like absolute crap this year. But now the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be playing Patrick Mahomes since they have already clinched their division. Even with that, I still think that the Kansas City Chiefs are going to win. Denver's defense is not what it used to be, and they are on the cusp of falling off. An AFC West showdown is next with the Raiders and the Los Angeles Chargers. I think with the way that the Raiders played last week, there's no way they can win this game. LA is trying to become only the second team in NFL history to make the playoffs after starting the season off 0-4. Think about that. Chargers win. All right, now we have a repeat of probably one of the top 3 games of the year, which is the 49ers versus the Rams. This game on Thursday night earlier this year was an absolute insanely good game. And if you were to tell me in the middle of the season that the 49ers would have a chance to beat the Rams in Week 17, I'd call you crazy. Now with Jimmy Garoppolo, it seems very possible. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Rams are going to win, and they're going to lock up that number 3 seed. Sorry, Jimmy. And we are finally to the very last pick of the video. We have the Arizona Cardinals going into Seattle. Earlier this season, you would say, that's easy, that's Seattle. It's in Seattle. That's not such a guarantee anymore. Seattle's defense, with its lack of weapons now, has been falling off as well. Not in the same way Denver has, because Seattle will be able to rebound back. But I think that Arizona is going to come in to Seattle and win this game. How? I don't know, but I just don't think that Seattle can rely on Russell Wilson as much as they have this season. Cardinals win. Alrighty, those are all my picks, and that will do it for the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you think that any of my picks were wrong, tell me what it was down in the comments. Leave a like on this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. 30, and it's